Okay, let's look at the limits of difference quotients. Right? So here's an example. Let's say function f of x is equal to square root of x. Then we want to take the limit of a difference quotient f of 3 plus h minus f of 3 over h as h approaches 0. Right? So let's try to simplify that. So this is going to be equal to, right? First, we have to use a function notation. So you have a limit as h approaches 0, right? F of 3 plus h is basically every time you see x, we replace it by quantity 3 plus h. So this is a square root of 3 plus h, right, minus f of 3 is just the plug-in 3, so it's a square root of 3 all over h, right? Then first thing you should try when you evaluate the limit is just plug in the value, right? So what happens is if you plug in h equals 0, so you have a square root of 3 plus 0, which is a long way of saying square root of 3, minus square root of 3. So you can see that the top numerator is going to approach 0. Right? Denominator is easy because h goes to 0, so denominator also approaches 0. Right? So we have this indeterminate form, 0 over 0, so we have to do something about that. Right? The only problem is we cannot factor this out directly from here. Right? So what we want to do is, here's the trick when you see square root, especially difference of square root. Right? So we multiply top and bottom by almost the same thing as the numerator, except for the sign. So we're going to multiply by square root of 3 plus h plus square root of 3. Right? And we're going to have to do the same thing to the bottom too. So you multiply the denominator by quantity square root of 3 plus h plus square root of 3. Right? Then if you multiply out the numerators, remember that if you multiply a minus b times quantity a plus b, you have a squared minus b squared. So we get to square these, which is a good news because we get to get rid of square root of square root. Right? So you have limit as h approaches 0. Right? So big fraction. Alright, so here's a minus b, a plus b. So a squared is going to be, square root is gone, so you're just going to get the 3 plus h. That's nice, right? And the minus sign, and the b squared. So b is this guy, so square of square root of 3 is going to be simply 3. Right? On the bottom, you can't really do too much to simplify, so we're going to just multiply out. So it's going to be h, so that's the original denominator, and multiply by quantity square root of 3 plus h plus square root of 3. Right? Then a little bit of cleaning up. You have 3 there. Right? So you have 3 there. You can cancel with minus 3 there. Right? And also you have h on top here and h on the bottom here, so we can cancel those out, so you're going to have 1 on top. Right? So you're going to have, let's clean up a bit first before we plug in. So you have a limit as h approaches 0, so you have 1 on top. Then what's left is square root of 3 plus h plus square root of 3. Right? Then what you do is just to plug in. So see what you can get. So you're going to get 1 over square root of, right, 3 plus h is 0 plus square root of 3, right, which is going to be 1 on top. Right, this is basically square root of 3 plus another square root of 3. So there's going to be 2 of them, 2 square root of 3 on the bottom. Right, so 1 over 2 square root of 3 is the limit of this difference quotient. Right, that's it. I hope that this was clear.